Hey guys, I'm Evan and this is Magnolias in Sunlight, and today is day 30 of DIY or Die, my series where we make a Halloween inspired DIY project every day in the month of October. And we are very close to the end that it almost feels silly making Halloween decor that you're going to want to pack away really soon and start pulling out, like, I guess the Christmas stuff, right? That's what I'm looking forward to at this point. We've done a lot of Halloween and I'm still having a great time. But I'm definitely starting to think about Christmas now that I'm seeing it everywhere. And that brings me to today's project, because it's not so much a Halloween decor item, but it's something to celebrate Dia de los Muertos. So I grew up in San Antonio, and Dia de los Muertos and Halloween really went hand in hand. It was all over the city, and we learned about it in school every year. And then any Spanish class I took, we 100% drew candy skulls, colored in candy skulls, and made paper banners. It was something we did every single year. And so when I saw this piece on CB2's website years ago, I saved it because I thought I could make one of those. It reminds me of home, and I think it's just beautiful. I think all of the imagery with Dia de los Muertos is beautiful. I think the meaning behind it and honoring those that you've lost and spending a day really thinking about them and connecting with those connections and the people that you don't have anymore is really important and really beautiful. So I want to be very clear and careful with this project. I don't want it to seem like I am culturally appropriating anything or stepping on anyone else's culture. I just want to let you know that this comes from a place of respect and appreciation for a holiday that I grew up very close to. While it wasn't something that we did in my own family, like I said, in San Antonio, it's hand in hand with Halloween. It is just a part of the end of October, and it does remind me of home, to be completely honest. So I just want to be very careful and let you know, little disclaimer. I just wanted to make something that was really beautiful, something that I know my grandma would absolutely love and would want me to make one for her as well. And I'm going to put this with a photo of her and my grandpa, some fresh flowers, and really honor them on Dia de los Muertos as it should be. So I hope you guys enjoy this project and have a wonderful Dia de los Muertos, spending time with your families, thinking about those that you've lost, and honoring all of the memories that you have with them. So we are going to start with our skull, and I have a test hole here. I was making sure I had the right hole saw on my drill. But the first step is that we need to attach or at least make the holes for our PVC bits. And I was thinking I was just gonna assemble everything and then paint it all black. But the green is actually growing on me. I love green in my decor. So I'm thinking I might just go ahead and paint these black and then glue them in and kind of change our steps a little bit. But regardless, the first part of this is drilling holes in our plastic skull. So I am going to do one here, and it's kind of hard to hold it all up and show you. But we're basically going to give it like antlers for a minute, and then we're going to put one center at the top. And you actually have this nice seam here, so I'm just going to go straight in using that as my midpoint. I'm going to put my drill bit right there, and then same on this side. I went back a little bit further because it concaves here, and we really want it to be, I want these to fit in as flat as possible. So on this side, we're using that same plastic join and then putting the hole here. So I will lift you guys up. And luckily, this is actually quite easy to do because this is very thin plastic. You're going to need to get a hole saw that matches your PVC joint or PVC parts, obviously. And then we're just gonna go, I really wanna make sure that this is symmetrical. And then you just clean up your bit. I'm just pushing the plastic bits in there because I don't really have a use for them. And I found because it dips so low, it cuts really great on the outside and then doesn't really complete the cut in there. And I don't want to start ripping this up. So I just push it in and it works great. So now we need to do the top one. Okay, now we can clean up all of these little green bits and go outside and give these a good paint with the spray paint. All right, while our candle holder, candelabra pieces dry, we are going to start sculpting some black flowers. And the funny thing is I have made this project before, and I bought a different kind of clay. It was in the clearance section, and it was like never dry clay, which I didn't even know was a thing. But I just found black polymer looking clay and I grabbed it because it was such a good price, and sculpted all of my flowers and then went to bake them and nothing happened. And like they wouldn't harden. And so I set them out like for 2 or 3 days, like a whole week really, to see if it was air dry clay and if it would dry, and they were still tacky, and it just was like plasticine clay, I think is what it was called, but it never, ever, ever dried, which was crazy. So make sure when you go to the store that you are buying oven bake clay or air dry clay. You want something that's going to dry down. I don't recommend this, the Model Magic, because you're not going to get this coloring. Like you're not going to get this pretty texture. This, I always feel like it looks a little graphite gray when it dries. I used it to make some lightweight bats a few years ago, and I still have a package in my box of clay things. So also some things that could help but aren't necessary. I have these little flower cutouts that I am going to use, but I'll also show you how to sculpt some that don't need those, because I don't expect everyone to have clay tools, that kind of a thing. And then I also have all of these little Sculpey bits. I actually have a whole box of random Sculpey bits that I probably should have pulled out for all of our other clay projects. And because it wasn't Sculpey, they were in the Sculpey box, I didn't think about it. I also have this great rolling pin that I bought at the Asian grocery store that could have been really useful for all of our other projects because it's meant for clay. This is like one that I specifically bought for crafts. Forgot it was in here. We used a water glass and we used my baking rolling pin, which then I had to clean pretty aggressively. So all that to say, you don't need any of these tools. You can use other things, but they are nice. So I, this whole time, thought I was sitting here filming, making this flower and this leaf, and apparently I was just talking to myself. Well, at least the dogs were here, so I was talking to my dogs. But I will walk you through making another one. So we have a ball of dough, or a ball of clay that I am just flattening out. And I do have these cookie cutters that I'm going to use just to speed things up, but you can cut out petals. I can show you one of those, like how I would do that if I didn't have these cookie cutters. And just trying to get this to be, I want to keep the thickness. I like that in the original INSPO, like how chunky and almost bulbous the flowers are. I think it's a really nice look. Is that gonna be, yeah, just big enough. Okay, so I'm gonna push down, obviously, just like you would if you were cutting out cookies. And then save all of this for later. Pick that up, and then I'm gonna round back down all of these cut points because you will see them. If we were putting it flat on something, that wouldn't be that big of a deal, but these are gonna like stand up and be tall. So I wanna get rid of as much of this, like we cut these out from a cookie cutter evidence as possible. So now we're going to use a piece of this that we just like the offcut and roll a ball. Roll a ball, not a football. And then I'm going to make a little dome and then put that right in the middle. And I'm doing a lot of work to kind of smooth this out. When it's done, I don't want to see my fingerprints in it. I think that's like the number one thing I hate about Sculpey is being able to see all of your finger marks in the clay. So then we're going to fold this up because, again, they're going to be all rounded on here. That gives us a really nice flat spot to glue with still getting that height, but also it just looks a little bit better. And then I'm going to go in with one of these tools, and you don't need any of these tools. You could do this with like a toothpick or the edge of a fork using just one tine of a fork. And I'm going to put some petal marks. And then for the middle part, I want it to look like it has like a seed head on it. So I'm just going to dab a bunch of kind of random dots all over. And there is our second flower. I want them all to be a little different, so I went deeper on the stripes on this one. On this one, I did more stripes and I kept them more shallow. And then for the leaf, and I pulled up our INSPO picture. So these are still available on, well, the small one in black they also did terracotta this year, is available on West Elm's website, but it just looks like an object. It doesn't look like it's a candle holder this time around. And I swear when I first saw this years ago, when I first tried to make it, that was a candle holder. And I also thought it was from CB2. So I know it was a candle holder. They've just changed the design, but maybe they both did it. I also saw one that looked like they had something very similar on Anthropologie's website. And that one was labeled Oaxacan, like terracotta skeleton, which is cool because I wonder if it's really from a Oaxacan artist. If it is, I would be interested in picking one of those up. I would love to go to Oaxaca and see all of the artisans. They have some really incredible, not only clay pottery, but wax sculpting and textiles, and it seems like a very creative, beautiful region. And then do one line down the middle, and then just some hash marks, kind of all the way, tick marks, whatever, all the way up. And they don't have to be symmetrical, they don't have to be perfect, but now we can do like 2 leaves on this side, and we're just building out our crown that will go across here. Make some of these flowers without a cutout, a cookie cutout. Cookie cutter is the word I'm looking for. So we are sticking with, oh, this one doesn't have any dots on the, maybe that's why it was looking so weird. I did a different texture on the petals of this one that I don't like as much, but I was like, why is that one so different than all the other ones? It's because it didn't have any seeds on the middle. So we're gonna start with a small piece of clay to make our petals, and we are gonna stick with 5 petal flowers because that's what we already have. And again, trying to get this more of a bulbous rounded shape. So that was 2 pieces of clay I've combined. It did not combine very well. You wanna make sure you don't have any of those like seams and creases when you're working on them. And then you're just going to shape it into a petal form, like a teardrop or a raindrop, and then kind of narrow out the bottom like that. Because we're gonna put the seed piece in the middle, so we don't want it to be too chunky down there. and then we can kind of flatten out and shape. So now we do that 5 times and try and make them as symmetrical as possible. Make them all the same size. Obviously, this will take you a little bit longer than using something like the cookie cutter, but not that much longer. It's not gonna, and I don't know, I find this process enjoyable. All right, so now that our petals are formed, and obviously ours are not as, you know, even as the other ones because I'm only human. But we're gonna do the same thing in the middle. Add our little dome. Add our stripes. Okay. And add our curve back in. And there's a hand sculpted one. So, not that far off. I did end up with 6 petals. I don't really know why, that just is the way it worked out. And then you can, I'm gonna fix that one. He's a little, some of them are a little square. But very cute. Okay, so we have 4 little flower petals and we're making basically a half flower. So we want it to be really flat on this edge because this one is designed to kind of go there. Actually right there, not kind of there. That's its home. Maybe this. I kind of want to do like a thumbprint cookie almost, where the thumbprint is going inwards. I think that's working. I think that's what I want. And then, again, making a ball for the center, but this time we're only making like half, 3/4, a little bit over half, 7/8. And we're gonna fill in that gap. And then do the same. Dot texture. But that will fit perfectly right there. So I'm gonna make one more of these, and then I've decided to do the same process as the actual clay ones, and that is to wire all of these. So I'm going to cut wire, and then we can drill some tiny, tiny holes in here where they're gonna go when we glue them in place. So it'll kind of be, they'll be wired in, but they'll also be glued in. And I think it's just gonna give us a little bit of ability to play with height and just, I don't know, overall texture I think will be better. And it'll kind of be able to let us play with placement a little more than if it's just all getting glued to the same one surface. So we could, we could stagger before, but it's all gonna be the same height. So short of the flowers being bigger than one another, you're really locked in. If we wire them, we can lift them up, we can bend them front and back. And I think that's just, I don't know, it's the way the original ones are made. All right, so this is the same wire we've been using, and I'm just gonna cut like 1.5 inch bits. All right, and then I'm putting the wires in, like these are coming in between 2 petals. These are coming straight out the middle of a petal. I'm kind of playing with that on purpose so that when we go to assemble them on the skull, we have some difference between those and it's not gonna look like the exact same on each one. I feel like that would be a little bizarre. Obviously the leaves are good. We're gonna go straight in to the leaves like a stem. There's no need to do that any other way. That might actually be bizarre. And then the little ones, I'm gonna give a little bit extra length to, because I don't want them to get lost. So I want to make sure that I can, when I put them in the skull, I can have some height differentiation. All right. So now we need to go put these in the oven. And my packaging says 275 for about 30 minutes. I am notoriously bad at forgetting that I have clay in the oven. So I'm going to make sure this time around that I don't make that mistake. I'm going to set a timer. But also make sure that the packaging, you read the packaging of your clay because it might be different from the one that I'm using. So I just put these on a little bit of parchment paper and they're gonna go straight into the oven for about 30 minutes. They're a little smoky, but I think that's because it's so cold. Okay. So now I just gotta let those cool and then we'll start assembling. So we need to put our pieces into the pumpkin, and I thought I would need to glue these, but they go in really, really snugly. So we don't really have to worry about that. And then I'm just putting it all the way in. All of the pieces. Oh, that one's gonna have to be glued. Interesting. So pop that back out, and then I'm just gonna go right around the rim of this. Okay, so we're going to put a little hole where we want our flowers to go. And I'm gonna start with the biggest flower, which is this 6-petal flower, and drop it, get rid of the curly keel. Get a little more glue. It's kind of a lot. Whoops. And put it in the hole. And then we can use the wire oh no. That's not good. Okay. We fixed the problem. And I've added a bead of hot glue to hold things in place while the E6000 hardens. So we can continue. I want to start with the pieces where I know they're going to go. So the top one is that 6 point, and then this one on the side, I know we have, it's going to be hard to tell with the, right behind that temple. So I'm going to drill a hole here. Again, E6000 down around the base. Dab of hot glue right on the skull. That's how I'm combining things now. We don't want anything else fall. I mean, once they're wired in, it's very unlikely for them to fall out. But I just want to be extra, I want to be extra sure. Okay. That does feel very secure. All right, so on this side, anything around the opening of our candle holder, we need to make sure that the candle has clearance. So just test with your candle before letting anything dry too close to those spots, because on this side, that one's gonna need to rotate so that the candle can fit in. All right, so I'm gonna use this one kind of high, which is why I'm glad I installed the wires, because now I can play with this depth here. And we'll have a short one, or a lower flower and a higher flower. And then on this side, oh, need to glue that, or drill that side. I thought I did that. We're gonna kind of do the same thing. And keep this one up a little bit higher than the rest. So we're here. So for my last leaf, I've actually decided to take the wire out and put it directly here and just kind of wedge it in. So I glued it down, but then that is our beautiful flower crown. So now, honestly, we have to let it dry, but we can put the candles in it right now and see what it looks like. I'm so excited. I'm gonna go through and probably touch up a little of the glue here and there once it's dry, peel some of it back. But how cute.